My child, stop everything for a moment and remain here, because what has found you now is not ordinary. Something has been moving through the unseen spaces around your life, drawing nearer with every passing hour, and your heart has already felt the first tremor of it. You may have tried to dismiss the sudden restlessness, the unexpected memories, or the strange feeling that someone was calling your name without making a sound. But do not scroll away from this moment. What you are about to hear was meant to reach you before doubt convinced you that nothing was happening. Your soulmate is attempting to reach you right now. Not only through a message, a call, or a visible sign, but through the invisible thread that has continued to connect your hearts even in silence. Something has shifted within them. A wall they spent months, perhaps years, building has begun to crack. A truth they tried to keep buried has risen with such force that they can no longer carry it quietly. And although you cannot yet see the full movement taking place, heaven has witnessed every trembling breath, every unfinished sentence, and every moment they reached for you before pulling their hand back. Pause here, because there is a reason this revelation is reaching you at this exact time. Your soulmate did not suddenly begin thinking of you today. You have been present in their mind much longer than you realize. Your name has appeared in their thoughts during quiet mornings, crowded rooms, sleepless nights, and ordinary moments that should have had nothing to do with you. They have heard a song and felt your presence. They have passed a familiar place and remembered something you said. They have looked at their phone, opened your conversation, stared at the empty space where words should go, and then closed it because the emotions were too powerful to translate. But now, something has changed. The hesitation that once kept them silent is beginning to hurt more than the possibility of speaking. They are discovering that avoiding you has not created peace. It has only created a deeper ache. Distance did not erase the connection. Time did not make the truth smaller. Pretending to be unaffected did not free them. Every effort to move forward without acknowledging what they feel has led them back to the same undeniable realization: there is something they still need to tell you. And the reason they are reaching now is connected to something that happened very recently. There was a moment, quiet on the outside but earth-shaking within them, when your soulmate suddenly imagined a future where they never spoke honestly to you again. They saw the days continuing. They saw you moving forward. They saw your life changing without them. And for the first time, the possibility did not feel distant or dramatic. It felt real. That realization unsettled them more deeply than they expected. They had told themselves there would always be more time. Another day to explain. Another week to gather courage. Another opportunity to find the perfect words. But something inside them whispered that waiting was no longer harmless. They began to understand that silence can become a decision, even when no decision was intended. They saw how easily two people with genuine feelings could lose each other, not because love was absent, but because fear spoke louder. My child, you must understand what has been happening inside their heart. Your soulmate has been fighting a private battle between longing and self-protection. One part of them wants to come toward you without restraint, to reveal everything, to tell you why they disappeared emotionally, why they became distant, why their actions sometimes contradicted what their heart truly felt. Another part is terrified that the moment they open themselves, they may discover that they waited too long. This fear has caused them to begin and abandon the same message many times. They have written words that sounded too cold and erased them. They have written words that sounded too emotional and erased those too. They have tried to keep it simple, but nothing about what they feel is simple. They have considered beginning with an apology. They have considered pretending nothing happened. They have imagined telling you the whole truth in one breath. Then they have stopped, because there is one confession at the center of everything that frightens them more than all the others. You are closer to discovering that confession than you think. Heaven has been working not to force this person, but to bring them face to face with the truth they can no longer avoid. Certain memories have returned for a reason. Certain dreams have shaken them for a reason. Certain conversations have exposed what they were trying to hide from themselves. Even the loneliness they have recently felt has carried a purpose. It has shown them that no distraction can permanently silence what the soul recognizes. Your soulmate remembers the way you made them feel seen. Not admired from a distance. Not praised for what they could offer. Seen. You noticed the emotions behind their words. You sensed when something was wrong even when they smiled. You recognized their softness beneath their guarded behavior. And though they may never have told you this, being understood by you frightened them because it removed the hiding places they had relied upon for years. You did not simply enter their life. You reached a room inside them that very few people had ever been allowed to approach. That is why their reaction to this connection has sometimes seemed confusing. When a heart has learned to survive by staying guarded, genuine love does not always create immediate comfort. Sometimes it creates panic. Sometimes the person pulls away from the very thing they prayed for because receiving it requires them to become vulnerable. Your soulmate was not prepared for the depth of what they felt. They expected to remain in control. They expected their usual defenses to work. They believed they could decide how much of themselves to reveal and when. But your presence changed the rhythm of their inner world. You awakened tenderness they had buried. You stirred hopes they had stopped admitting. You caused them to imagine a kind of love that did not require constant performance. And because this felt precious, it also felt dangerous. They became afraid of losing what had not even fully begun. They became afraid that if you saw every hidden wound, you might look at them differently. So instead of allowing the bond to deepen naturally, they tried to manage it. They measured their words. They concealed their jealousy. They pretended not to care as much as they did. They delayed responses when they wanted to reply immediately. They acted calm while their heart reacted to every change in your energy. And now they are realizing that these defenses may have created the very distance they were trying to avoid. Listen closely, because the next part is important. Your soulmate recently learned or recognized something about you that changed the way they viewed the entire situation. It may have come through a conversation, an observation, or a sudden understanding that formed when they looked back over everything. They realized that your silence was not indifference. Your boundaries were not punishment. Your withdrawal was not a game. You were protecting your heart too. This realization broke something open inside them. For a long time, they may have assumed you were stronger than they were, less affected, or already moving on. They interpreted your composure as emotional distance. They saw your ability to continue with life and concluded that perhaps the connection had not touched you as deeply. But now they are beginning to understand how much you carried without showing it. They are remembering the patience you offered, the chances you quietly gave, the moments when you waited for honesty and received uncertainty instead. The times you chose understanding even when their behavior left you confused. And beneath all of these memories, a painful truth is rising: you were not asking them to be perfect. You were asking them to be real. That truth has followed them everywhere. It appeared when they tried to blame timing. It appeared when they tried to blame circumstances. It appeared when they convinced themselves that you would be better without them. It appeared when they tried to close the chapter without ever speaking the words trapped inside them. Every excuse has begun to fall apart. And now they are standing at the edge of a decision. Do they allow fear to keep writing the story, or do they finally reach for you with honesty? This is why you may have felt unusual emotional waves recently. Perhaps you woke with their presence heavy on your mind. Perhaps an old memory returned with surprising clarity. Perhaps you felt sadness that did not seem entirely yours. Perhaps your heart became restless without explanation, as though something unfinished was drawing near. These experiences do not require you to chase, panic, or abandon your peace. They are not commands to force an outcome. They are reminders that what is hidden often begins shifting before it becomes visible. Heaven is not asking you to lose yourself waiting for anyone. This message is not telling you to accept less than honesty, consistency, or respect. Divine love does not ask you to betray your own worth. But you are being prepared emotionally because when your soulmate reaches out, the words may not arrive in the form you expect. They may begin awkwardly. They may hide their deepest feeling behind a simple question. They may send something ordinary while hoping you will sense the extraordinary emotion beneath it. They may test whether the door is still open before revealing why they truly came. Do not mistake nervousness for insincerity, but do not ignore patterns either. Listen with wisdom. Observe with calmness. Let truth reveal itself through both words and action. Your soulmate is rehearsing a conversation they have not yet had with you. In their imagination, they have seen many versions of your response. In one, you answer warmly, and they finally release everything they have held back. In another, you remain distant, and they realize the cost of waiting. In another, you ask the question they fear most: why now? That question has pierced them because they do not yet know how to explain the full answer. Why now? Because the silence has become unbearable. Because they have seen how fragile opportunities can be. Because something reminded them that people do not remain in the same place forever. Because they have begun to fear that another person may recognize your value and give you the honesty they withheld. Because they are finally understanding that love cannot survive forever on unspoken intention. But there is an even deeper reason. Your soulmate is reaching now because they have discovered that the feeling they tried to label as temporary has become part of them. It did not fade when you were absent. It did not disappear when they became busy. It did not vanish when they tried to focus on other things. Instead, it matured in the quiet. It became less about excitement and more about recognition. They began to miss not only your presence, but the peace they felt when they believed you understood them. They began to miss the version of themselves that existed around you. They began to miss the possibilities they were too afraid to name. And somewhere in this process, longing became clarity. My child, there was a particular night when their defenses weakened. They were alone with their thoughts, and something brought your memory forward with unusual intensity. They may have seen an old photograph, reread a message, heard a familiar phrase, or remembered a moment when your eyes revealed more than your words. Whatever awakened the memory, they could not push it away. They sat with it. At first, they tried to remain detached. They told themselves it was only nostalgia. But then one memory opened another. They remembered how your voice changed when you were trying not to show hurt. They remembered the questions you stopped asking. They remembered the distance growing and the moment they sensed you becoming tired. Then came the realization that left them emotionally shaken. You may have believed they did not notice your pain. They noticed. They simply did not know how to face what their choices had caused. That is one of the truths they have been afraid to admit. They saw the shift in you. They felt when your energy changed. They knew when you stopped reaching with the same openness. And although they may have acted unaffected, inwardly they understood that they were losing access to a heart that had once welcomed them. They told themselves you needed space. They told themselves it was better not to interfere. They told themselves that if the bond were real, it would somehow repair itself without uncomfortable conversation. But deep inside, they knew they were hiding. And now that hiding place no longer feels safe. The extraordinary thing is that someone or something recently challenged them to stop running. It may have been a trusted person who said more than they realized. It may have been a moment when your soulmate heard another story of love lost through silence. It may have been a dream in which they tried to reach you but could not. Whatever form it took, the message was clear: speak before regret becomes permanent. Since that moment, they have been unable to settle. They have checked whether you were active. They have searched for signs of what your life looks like now. They have wondered whether you still think of them. They have imagined the possibility that you are waiting for an explanation. But they have also feared that you no longer need one. This is the tension moving through them now. They want to contact you, but they know a casual message cannot carry the weight of what must be said. They want to tell you they miss you, but that sentence feels too small. They want to apologize, but they fear an apology without full honesty will sound empty. They want to explain, yet they do not want their explanation to become an excuse. For the first time, they are beginning to understand that reaching you requires courage, not clever wording. There is one sentence they keep returning to. It is not the sentence they will necessarily send first. It is the sentence beneath every other sentence. It is the truth that has been pressing against their heart, demanding to be acknowledged. I never stopped feeling it. They may have stopped showing it. They may have stopped speaking about it. They may have tried to redefine it. But the feeling itself remained. This does not mean every wound has disappeared or every obstacle has been solved. It means denial is ending. It means they can no longer pretend the bond was meaningless. It means the next stage of this story will require a different kind of honesty from both of you. And you, beloved one, are also being prepared. You have grown during the silence. You have learned that love without peace becomes confusion. You have learned that your heart can remain soft without becoming unprotected. You have learned that missing someone does not mean you must abandon your standards. You have learned to stop proving your worth to people who were too afraid to receive it. These lessons were not meant to close you forever. They were meant to teach you discernment. When the message comes, you will not be the same person who once waited anxiously for every sign. You will be able to feel deeply and still listen carefully. You will be able to recognize emotion without immediately mistaking it for transformation. You will be able to hear their confession while watching whether their actions support it. That strength is part of the divine preparation. Do not fear that protecting your peace will push away what is meant for you. What is genuine will not require you to shrink your wisdom. Real reconciliation can withstand honest questions. Real love does not ask you to ignore what happened. It creates room for truth, accountability, and a new way forward. But before that conversation can unfold, your soulmate must cross one final internal threshold. They must decide whether they are willing to reveal the real reason they pulled away. This reason is not exactly what you have assumed. It was not simply a lack of feeling. It was not merely bad timing. It was not because someone else mattered more. The truth is more personal, more vulnerable, and more connected to their past than you realize. Your soulmate has carried an old belief that everyone they love eventually discovers they are too difficult to stay with. Somewhere in their history, closeness became associated with loss. They learned to expect abandonment before it happened. So when your connection became powerful, part of them began preparing for the ending before the beginning had fully arrived. They searched for signs you would leave. They questioned your intentions. They mistook small changes for proof that rejection was coming. And rather than waiting to be left, they created distance first. This pattern was never fair to you, but it explains the conflict you witnessed. Your soulmate was not only responding to the present. They were reacting to old pain wearing a new face. They were hearing echoes of past disappointments in moments that had nothing to do with those experiences. And because they never told you about this fear, you were left interpreting behavior without access to the hidden reason behind it. Now they see what that silence cost. They know you deserve the truth. They know you should not have had to guess whether you mattered. They know their fear may have made you question your own intuition. This awareness has created deep remorse. But remorse alone is not the final revelation. There is something else. A choice was recently placed before your soulmate, and your name was connected to it. They were given an opportunity to close a chapter, move in another direction, or fully commit to a path that would make reaching you more difficult. To everyone around them, the decision may have seemed practical. But inside, they could not proceed with peace. Every time they tried to imagine moving forward without resolving what existed between you, they felt resistance. Not because they are incapable of living without you, but because the story between you remains unfinished. There are words that have not been spoken. There are misunderstandings that have not been cleared. There is a moment from the past that they have replayed differently many times, and they now realize they may have misunderstood what you were trying to communicate. That moment is connected to why they are reaching urgently. They remembered something you said. Something that sounded simple then but now carries a completely different meaning. At the time, they may have thought you were asking for space, ending the connection, or withdrawing your feelings. But now, after revisiting the memory, they understand you were giving them one final opportunity to be honest. And they missed it. The weight of that realization has brought them to a breaking point. They have been asking themselves whether another opportunity still exists. They are not certain. That uncertainty is why they have been attempting to reach you in subtle ways before making the visible move. Their energy has been searching for reassurance. Their thoughts have been circling you. Their heart has been hoping that something within you still recognizes them. But they cannot remain in the invisible forever. A real choice is approaching. Either they send the message, make the call, or create the meeting, or they allow fear to take another opportunity from them. Heaven has not revealed this to make you anxious. It has reached you so that you do not misread what is about to happen. The first contact may look smaller than the emotion behind it. Do not judge the entire revelation by the opening sentence. Something simple may carry a doorway. Are you okay? I was thinking about you. Can we talk? I know it has been a while. These words may seem ordinary, but behind them is a heart standing at the edge of confession. And yet, there is a detail they have not decided whether to reveal. It concerns what happened during the period of silence. There was a moment when they almost contacted you, but someone's words stopped them. This person did not necessarily act with cruelty. They may have believed they were protecting your soulmate. They may have advised them to leave the past alone, to avoid vulnerability, or to assume you had already moved on. Your soulmate listened. For a time. But recently, they discovered that this advice was based on an incomplete understanding of what truly happened between you. Now they are questioning everything. They are wondering whether fear was disguised as wisdom. They are wondering whether pride stole time that love could have used. They are wondering whether the person who encouraged distance understood how deeply the connection affected them. And most of all, they are wondering what you would say if you knew the entire story. My child, your name has already been spoken in a conversation you know nothing about. Your soulmate finally admitted to someone close that they still think about you. At first, they tried to minimize it. They spoke casually. They pretended the memory had surfaced without importance. But the person listening saw through the performance. They asked a direct question. If you still care, why haven't you told them? Your soulmate had no answer. Silence filled the space, and in that silence, the truth became undeniable. They had been waiting for certainty before taking a risk that could never come with certainty. They wanted a guarantee that you would receive them warmly. They wanted proof that the connection could be restored before doing the work required to restore it. They wanted love without the vulnerability love demands. That conversation changed them. Since then, they have been moving closer to action. But here is where the revelation deepens. The person they spoke with told them something about you, something your soulmate did not know. It was not gossip. It was not a harmful secret. It was an observation about the way you had carried yourself during the separation. They said you had not spoken with bitterness. They said you had protected the dignity of what you shared. They said you had been hurt, but you did not turn the pain into cruelty. When your soulmate heard this, they became quiet. Because they realized that even in disappointment, you had handled their heart with more care than they had handled yours. That realization reached a place inside them that excuses could not defend. It made them want to come toward you honestly. It also made them afraid that they no longer deserve access to your tenderness. This is the battle at its highest point. Longing is pulling them forward. Shame is pulling them back. Love is saying, speak. Fear is saying, it is too late. And right now, they are standing between those voices. But heaven has seen which voice is becoming stronger. They are preparing to tell you something they have never said clearly. They are preparing to admit that the distance was not proof that they felt nothing. It was proof that they felt more than they knew how to manage. They are preparing to confess that they checked for you more often than you knew. They are preparing to explain why they stayed silent even when they missed you. They are preparing to reveal what they thought you would discover about them if the relationship became deeper. Yet before any of this reaches you, one event must happen. Your soulmate must confront the person who influenced their decision to remain distant. That conversation has either just begun or is about to begin. And the outcome may change the way they approach you completely. They have one question to ask this person. It is a question they should have asked long ago. Why did you make me believe they had stopped caring? The answer will reveal that a misunderstanding was allowed to grow between you. A message was interpreted incorrectly. A silence was explained falsely. A moment was described without the full context. And when your soulmate discovers what was left out, they will finally understand why your final response sounded the way it did. They will realize you were not closing the door. You were waiting for them to walk through it with honesty. That discovery will bring them closer than ever to contacting you, but it will also force them to face a painful truth about the time that has been lost. My beloved child, the next thing they learn will not only change what they believe about your past. It will reveal that on the very night they decided not to reach you, you were waiting for them to do exactly that.